kind of guy he was, so I'm sure he gave me good advice here and there, but it was only if I asked for it, which is kind of an interesting thing.
You just asked for that a little too late.
There has to be time for one more.
Yeah.
Okay. I choose Alan.
Welcome, Alan. Well, Alan, you have my 3 questions. So.
No, you tell me.
Okay. I think this is interesting. If you could travel back in time
Yes.
to meet anyone in your family's history, whom would you want to meet?
Well, I think I'd like to go back and meet, who is it that I can't remember quite for sure. I think my father said that, gosh, I'm not 100% sure. I think that there was a relation to John Kennedy in my family. It's a very distant relation. My father's really into genealogy, and I think he's been kind of creative with some of the with some of the relations. But I believe my family has a real president further back in the tree. I'd like to go back and meet the President of the United States, John F. Kennedy. I can only imagine the kinds of advice that he would have for me. I could imagine sitting across the table from him with that Massachusetts accent that he has, which I really like too. My father's from Massachusetts. I love the accent that they have there, and I think that would really be a dream come true for me.
Thank you, Jim. Those are fun table topics. Good way to get to know a little bit more about people and learn from them. All right, next we will move into our evaluation portion of the meeting, and I'm going to call up Lauren, please. At this time, I would like to call up our first evaluator, Maggie, who will evaluate Darren's speech, The 3 Keys of Leadership.
Hi, Darren. Darren, I enjoyed your speech quite a bit because not only was it useful information and good to listen to, but I also enjoyed the way you delivered it. I thought that your presence up here was very comfortable. You did a little bit of pacing, which was just enough. You did a little bit of hand gestures, which was just enough. But most of all, you started out your speech with 3 keys of, and you kind of laid out what you were going to talk about, so we were anticipating that. So you did a great job of not using specialized jargon, kind of local lingo, because with that kind of a topic, you could very easily fall into the specialized jargon of the leadership work setting. Your objective was to use the words economically and using short sentences to describe that, and I thought you did a great job of doing that as well. And overall, you made good eye contact with the audience. However, a couple of things that I would probably recommend
Good job on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. And at this time, I'd like to call up Alan to evaluate John's speech, Becoming a Warrior.
John, it seems week after week I end up standing in front of everyone evaluating the speech. I heard it's because I don't go easy on people. And today my job was so easy, I just got so much room for improvement. I'm just joking. I can see you turning red. I enjoyed your speech. It was funny, and that was one of the things I liked. You employed some humor in there. I know it's tough crowds sometimes. You got to break through and get them to laugh. So that helps if you can go second. If you get like a real funny guy first, it can like loosen up the crowd. But you had some good jokes, and I think that the content of your speech was entertaining. I know you were going to use some gestures and body movements, and you did that throughout. So I think you were really paying attention to the project. There's something I noticed in the speech preceding yours. Darren speaks really fluently, and I noticed that when we have pauses, sometimes, as Gary is listening for, it's an awkward pause. And I noticed that where we pause might be something that we can use to our advantage. I think that Darren's pauses are very natural. And I noticed one, I'll just give you an example so you can try to see what I'm talking about. When you describe the warrior dash, is that what it's called? You said, I will describe from the official announcement. But if you said, I will describe from the official announcement, so if you had time to think there, if you wanted to compose something, but you stopped at a different point, it might sound more natural. Do you understand what I'm getting at? So that was one thing that I thought maybe we could all work on, is where we use our pauses. And another thing I thought you could add a little more energy to it by actually exaggerating the body movements that we had. I know that you described a lot of things about going up the hill or going, you had to say crawling through 2 feet of mud or something. But when we do these projects, we have a great chance to express ourselves with great fervor and really just open it up. So when you said about climbing up after an Alps, you said climbing up after an Alps. Just exaggerate, because I think it's good in this arena here to kind of go a little bit too far, and then we can and come back a little bit, because I think all of us, we make kind of little steps, and maybe it's a good thing. Kind of challenge ourselves a little bit. So, one more thing I found a little bit distracting is occasionally you had some kind of foot stomping as you move around. It's just a little like that. Okay. Once I noticed it, I found it a little distracting. I think you had some nerves maybe while you were up here.
Yeah, I didn't really do any preparation for the speech. It just kind of
Well, you did your preparation with going up the hill and this slide down, right? That was your life's preparation for the speech. So once again, I think that using some purposeful pauses and being more animated, even exaggerated in your speech could be room for improvement. And something I really liked were your humorous descriptions, like the aforementioned description of the event and the slip and slide. So thanks very much for sharing that with us. See you at the next speech.
Very good descriptive evaluations. Thank you both. And at this time, I would like to call on our counter, Gary. Gary, could you please give us a recap of?
Sure, how much time do we got? Don't be laughing. You still coming? So for Sheila, there I just did this. I only had one Very good. Michelle for word of the day, one Darren as a speaker. you had two sows, and the example, I wrote down these examples. One was so developing, and then you went on. And another one was so as we grew the team, and you could have dropped that off and just started with as. And there were one or two double clutches in there as well. John, for your speech, I had 5 ounce and 2 wells, and use kind of once, and that example was kind of a military event. You probably didn't need that at that point, just say a military event. Then for table topics, Jim, I only had 1 very good job. Sarah, I did get 5 ounce and a, Michelle, 1 and 1 and. So pretty good. And Chris, there were some 4 wells, or I'm sorry, sows. You sowed quite a bit, which you're probably aware of. A few of those. And, oh yeah, Alan. There were about 5 ahs, and 2 I thinks. And some of those I thinks may be okay, and sometimes they're filler, so just need to be careful with where you use them. General evaluator, Lori, I had 3 ounce. Maggie, for your evaluation, there were 3 ahs and ums and 1 You only one of the day.
Was that the one?
You should get some credit for it. And back to Alan, in your evaluation, you had quite a few ahs and ums in that. But you were evaluating John, and that was a difficult task. I understand. And Wanzan, you were perfect. And you were perfect.
Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call on Arlene for our time of the day.
I'm just gonna stand over here. Okay, word of the day, Michelle, was less than 30 seconds. The invocation, Michelle, that was about 42 seconds. And Darren, your speech was 5 to 7 minutes, and you went 5 minutes and 52 seconds. And John, you were between 5 and 7 minutes at 6:48. And Maggie, the first evaluation, 2 minutes and 5 seconds. And Alan, you were 3 minutes and 38. And Jim, for the table topics, you were about 20 to 40 seconds for each, for your opening and in between each speaker. And Lori, you just had an opening statement of 42 seconds for general evaluator. And table topics, Sarah was 55 seconds. Michelle was 1:41. Chris was 1:02, and Alan was 1:12.